What's up, everyone? All right, so in today's episode of Tire Kickers, I'm going to take you for a ride in this 1962 Porsche 356B, and this is a base model, so it's a 60. On the back, I'll show you where it says 60. The high-end model of this would have been the Super 90, the 60 putting out around 60 horsepower from a 1600cc engine, and the 90 putting out a little closer to 90 horsepower. So before we get into it, I'm going to give you the cold start. I'm going to give you the walk around the outside, the walk through the inside, and then we're going to get it out on the road. I'm going to take it for a spin and give you my feedback of what it's like to drive this 1962 Porsche 356B. So let's start at the back, because the back is what tells us that this is a 60. Right here, you can see. Now, on these cars, you would see either Porsche with a S for Super, or Porsche 60, of course, for the base, or Porsche Super 90. The Super 90 is kind of the, it's the highest end of this, well, with the exception of the Carrera, which was very few were made. Those are extremely expensive cars today, over $1 million. So, generally speaking, in terms of what would be typically available, we're talking about the 60 base model, the S, which is sort of in between, and then the Super 90, the S90. So right here we can see very quickly that this is the base model. In the back, in the engine bay, we've got the 1600cc engine, and we've got our twin dual carburetors. One right here you can see on this side, and then the other on this side. And one of the things that, of course, an owner of these cars will often do is make sure the linkage is adjusted, and make sure that when you're easing on to the throttle, that you're engaging both carburetors evenly, and that one's not engaging and pulling before the other. So nice little kind of opportunities to, you know, do some wrenching in a way that is fairly straightforward, is not overly complex, but is part of fine-tuning the engine to get it to really perform and run at its best. Now, while we're at the back, you'll notice the teardrop-shaped blinkers. On some Porsche 356, these will be separated with orange for the blinker, and I'm not entirely sure myself if that was state by state, because this is a North American car, and some North American cars are red and orange, and others are pure red here. So I'd be curious if anyone knows more in the comments to let me know. Right here we've got the little reflector, so we've got these right here. Of course, we've got our little lights to illuminate the license plate, same on that side. And then what's interesting about these cars is that the exhaust pipe, this is the exhaust pipe right here. So it actually comes right out through the bumper. But what's very common, especially when you're looking for one of these to purchase, is that you'll see that at some point along the line, a previous owner just put out an exhaust coming right out the back. You know, if you brought this to a shop and you know, the exhaust, you had an exhaust leak or it was broken, they would say, well, you really want me to get these parts, or do you want me to just run it straight through the back? And so sometimes people would just run right out the back. And of course, lots of people, including myself, like to put performance exhausts on cars and make it sound a little bit better. And so that may have been a factor why you won't always see this exhaust system retained on a car that you may see driving around. Now, as far as Porsche is concerned, what I really like about the 356 is that this is the predecessor to the 911. So we're going to close the, you can hear that solid. I mean, that's a solid piece of metal right there. This is twin grille, by the way, on the T6 body style. Through the 356 years, there were obviously, as would be the case with any model, just like 911, a number of changes in the body style. Some of them were more subtle, and other years were more significant. Coming around on the side, you can see we've got these fairly distinctive looking wheels with the hubcap, the Porsche hubcap. I like how on the Carrera model, they actually pop the hubcap off, presumably just to save a little bit of weight, because the Carrera model was designed to be the race car. I have left the hubcaps on. I may pop them off at some point just because I like the way it looks, and then I also am kind of benefiting from preserving the hubcaps and keeping them from having any premature wear. This is a car that is it has the original engine, which is important. Anytime you're looking at collectible cars of this vintage, this era, it's obviously preferable to have engine matching. There are certainly times where you'll see a car that has that is not engine matching, but had maybe a factory replacement engine, and that would be okay. Or has a period correct engine, which would be an engine from the same year or maybe 1 year earlier or later, and that's also okay. But someone who maybe retrofitted a 1970s engine into this, that would really change the character of the car. And something that enthusiasts and collectors like myself think about a lot is that it's not about drivability, it's about the car being original. That's what's really important. Yes, you could make it more drivable by putting in a bigger engine or by putting in disc brakes all around, or different things like that, but then you're losing what makes it original. And so this, as it sits right now, is original, and it allows you to sit in that driver's seat and experience a car exactly how someone would have experienced it in 1962, which is pretty cool. And for 1962, it drives incredibly well, it handles well, and it really is a joy to cruise around in. This one has been, it hasn't been like a rotisserie restoration or anything like that. It has been preserved and maintained, but you can certainly see, and I'll show you a number of different areas. We get in close to the door handle here, and you can see this kind of pitting in the chrome. And to me, all of this just tells the story of the life that this car has lived. I don't mind it one bit. There are some people that when they're looking for a collectible car, they're looking for the car to be basically as it was when it left the showroom. Now that's a hard state to achieve, and can really only be achieved through a full rotisserie restoration, nut and bolt, taking everything off and putting everything back together. This car has a driver's side mirror right here. We don't have a passenger side mirror, which I actually find to be fairly, it's incredible how often I look for that passenger side mirror and am like, it's not there, and then I have to look over my shoulder. I have just become so accustomed to having it. You might be surprised, even for yourself, how much you notice not having it once it's gone. So coming around up front, on this one, we have clear directionals. Now, this is another one of those interesting things, just like the taillights in the back. In some markets, the directionals were colored orange, and the lens, the blinker, but the lens itself was colored orange. And in other markets, they're clear. In this case, and in this color of white, I really like it exactly as it is because orange introduces a new color. I like this with the white, the chrome, the black, and then the clear lenses. I think that sort of color profile of just those colors is perfect. But of course we have a little bit more color right here, and I always love getting a good close look at these. I'll zoom in for you to see. So that, is just really cool and totally original there. And again, from the front, it's just that styling. You can see the early hint at the Porsche 911, which would follow coming in 1964, so just a few years later. The 356C, which is the last of the 356s, is, I suppose you could say, the most refined. B is sort of in the middle, A is early, and then pre-A are some of the earliest. And I actually have a pre-A, an A, and I do have, of course, this B, and I'm looking for a C. Now, one of the things that would be nice about like a 1964, 1965 Porsche 356 SC is that that's the super engine, and then you've also got the benefit of disc brakes, and you have a car that is essentially the final stop on the 356. So it's kind of the peak of that lineage. Although some might say that the earlier ones, the earlier ones are more valuable. There's no question about that. And so I suppose people feel that the origins and the roots are more interesting than kind of that transition right before the 911. But I actually like both. So of course in the front we've got, just to pop the hood open and take a quick peek, we've just got storage in the front. We've got the battery right down there, and then a few spare parts that were from the previous owner, and this license plate where I believe this is the license plate, or this is the bracket from where the car was purchased new. So in California car. But generally speaking, not a lot of trunk space up there in the front. And this does have some chips on the paint from in the front. It's not perfect, and I like that about it. It was repainted at one point, and you know, it's kind of one of these things where once it's been repainted, it's kind of like, all right, well, it's not original paint, so the paint is, because it's got some chips and it's got some color discoloration and stuff like that, you could say, well, just repaint it. You know, it's not original, so there's nothing worth keeping, you know, holding on to. But on the other hand, the paint has already started to develop this patina. So it's starting to tell a story of someone in the maybe 80s who did a bit of a restoration on it and improved it a little bit. So I don't know. I on the one hand could see the value in repainting, but on the other hand, even from certainly a distance of just a few feet, the paint really doesn't look bad at all. Just a little bit of discoloration. Of course, one of the nice things with the 56Bs that we've got the gas lid right there. So to open it, you actually have to reach in the car. So there's just this little pull right down here that we pull, and then that pops right up. So easy, obviously easy enough to fill up with gasoline, but nice that you don't have to open the front trunk, as it were. Because in the older ones, there was no gas fill and you actually had to pop the trunk open, which was a little bit inconvenient. So I think we've done a pretty good walk around the outside. I'm not sure if there's anything that I've missed that you'd find maybe especially significant, but overall, I like the styling, I like the stance, I like really everything about it. In terms of colors, I like the white. One of the other colors that I like quite a bit, there's a green that I like, there's a blue that I like. The bright red is certainly, I mean, bright red, white, silver, black. There's yellow, there's like a pale yellow that also looks quite nice. So, you know, you've got your choice of colors, and they're all fine. I mean, they all really are quite nice. So let's go ahead and jump on the inside, and I'll get in on the passenger side and then kind of show you from the passenger side some of the things on the driver's side. All right, so sitting here in the passenger seat, and one of the things that I can tell you is that it is a small car. I mean, you're sitting right next to the driver. Your seats are touching right here in the middle, and your feet could just about be touching right down below. It's certainly close quarters, but the visibility is good. It is it's a small windshield, right? As you can see right here, it's quite, I mean, it really is quite small, but typical of I suppose the Porsches of this era compared to a early 60s Mustang or Corvette or something like that. Those windshields are bigger. This was definitely a smaller car, a little bit more petite, but that made it a little bit more fun to drive, a little more engaging, certainly more nimble around the corners and everything else. So everything is proportionally a bit smaller. I love the patina and style of this steering wheel. We've got the black wheel. Some folks did like a leather wrap on it, but this is just the original without that leather wrap. And you've got this nice solid metal right here on these bars, which I'll show you a close-up of, that I just love. It's really, the steering wheel by itself is fantastic. The gauges are all good. They're easy to use. If I put the lights on here, well, it's not really, I don't think it's quite, let's see, let me turn the key. Yeah, it's not dark enough that you really get enough light on these gauges at the moment, but they're easy enough to see at night. They're certainly easy to see during the day. And somewhat like some of the other cars I have, both the tachometer and the speedometer have the same size numbers. But in this case, The tachometer is center, and that's really the one that I look at the most. The speedometer is very much an approximation. It goes 20, 40, 60, 80, 100, and 120. So those are your numbers on it. So you're definitely kind of just, you're in the ballpark when you're driving it. You may be going 60, maybe you're going 50. It's hard to tell. One of the other things I like about these cars is how they paint matched the dash here to the body of the car. So in blue, this would be blue. In red, it would be red. And so it ties the whole color theme from the outside through to the inside. On the door, you've got this little handle, which is kind of neat to pull the door closed on you. This is to open and then to pull it closed. And we've got a small walk-in glove box here, which is certainly big enough to store a couple pairs of gloves and a few other things. In this case, we've got a driver's manual for the 356B and from 1962, which is, you know, one of these things that folks that have these cars usually like to collect a few of the sort of memorabilia around them, and so that's one piece that we've got there. So now let's go around to the driver's side. And one of the things that I thought was really interesting when I first sat down in this car, I got in, I sat down, and I was like, all right, this is good. Nice seating position. I've got enough headroom and I'm over 6 feet tall, so not bad there. Yes, the steering wheel is actually kind of large right here. Not adjustable, but perfectly positioned, really. Just exactly where I would want it to be. I wouldn't change anything about that. But then when I put my feet down, I find it interesting that the gas pedal is almost in the middle of the car, and then we've got the brake and the clutch. So it feels that all of the pedals are basically almost like one pedal shifted to the center more than what I would typically expect. So when I put my foot on the clutch, that's usually where I would think the brake would be. The brake is where the gas should be, and then the gas pedal is just way over there in the middle of the car. So that's kind of funny in terms of positioning, but I guess you just get used to this kind of slightly off-center position with your legs, that they're going out that way. And the one advantage of it is that when your foot's not on the clutch, you really can just have your foot, your left foot straight ahead, and it's totally comfortable. But the clutch on this is neither too light nor too heavy. It's really just a perfect weight. The brakes on this car are a little soft, but that may be this car specifically. The gas pedal is great. So the pedal placement between, although they're shifted a little bit more center than I like, they're perfect for a heel toe downshift. The brake and then rolling over to the gas is very easy. The pedals are close together, which makes that really great. And the transmission itself is good. I like it a lot. It is not quite as crisp as my Corvette Stingray, my 1963 through 67 Corvette Stingrays. I have two of them. It is a little bit better than the Volkswagen Bus, and it's definitely much better than the Ford Mustang. But it is a little funny. I'm not sure exactly how I would describe it, why I sort of feel like it feels just in the steering box, or the gearbox itself, that there's a little bit more play. There's certainly a lot of play left to right. So I think that's a pretty good walkthrough of the interior. It's a great interior. It's super comfortable. The position is good. And I think now is as good a time as any to get it out on the road and talk a little bit about how it actually handles and how it feels, and to just listen to this kitten purr. All right, so before we take it out on the road, we're going to do a cold start. And once again, I've got my high decibel mic mounted right to the back of the car, as you can see right here. This can handle up to 150 decibels, and I'm going to have the gain turned down a little bit. Between this mic and the transmitters and the recording stuff and everything else, it's probably about $2,500 in audio equipment to try to capture that really crisp, clean, clear exhaust note. This is not going to be as challenging as a really loud American muscle car or like a motorcycle or something like that. It's going to be easier to capture, but I still want to make sure it sounds really good for you guys. So I hope this comes out really well. I hope you guys enjoy it. And yeah, let's give it a cold start, and then I'll leave that mic running as we take it out on the road. And this is going to be a combination of me driving and also you being able to really listen to what this engine sounds like without me just talking about what I think about the car. All right, so we're gonna take this thing on the road. I've been driving around a little bit, just making sure I got the audio levels sounding good, and I think they do sound pretty good. So you guys are now in for a treat. So I'm gonna put on my seatbelt, which this did have in 1962. Not all cars in 62 had seatbelts, but this one did. All right, so I'm in neutral, and here we go. Nice. Now, it's a 6-volt battery, and it's not uncommon for cars that are 6-volt to kind of chug a little bit more before they get going, but this sounds good. All right, so let's go. Let's take the emergency brake off, and let's roll. All right. 5,000 RPM. There we go. Down to second. One thing that I will tell you is that the steering is so tight, it is incredible. It just feels like you're on rails. It just feels so tight. It's awesome. All right, so up to third. Second. Wave to the dog. Say hi. All right. Back on the gas. All right, so what we're gonna do here, we're gonna go up this way. Okay. First gear. Second. It's a high clutch. The clutch engages high, which is like very different from a Saab, for instance, that engages really, really low. So from the floor, you've got a good amount of travel before it's actually engaging. Down to second. (5,000 RPM), 5,500. Down to 70. And it handles so well. This is one, unlike some of the other cars, that I really would feel comfortable driving on the highway. The only part about being on the highway that I wouldn't love, there's a couple. Okay. Number one, if I was on the highway, a problem that I would have with this car is it's very light. I push this around my yard, my driveway, so I don't have to start it and stuff like that, just to push it into different spots. It weighs very, very little. And so because it's so light, you'd get blown around by the big trucks. for sure, and maybe high winds a little bit, but mostly the big trucks. So that's something that I wouldn't love. That would make me nervous. But if it was just me and an open road, I would have no problem going 65, 75, 80. Not a problem at all. I really don't think you would have any trouble keeping up with highway speed. It's just it's so light. The wheels on this, the tires, in contrast to my 1961 Volkswagen bus, the tires are a bit wider. So that also instills a little bit more confidence, because when you do hit some bumps on the side, and I'm going to hit a couple right here, you don't pull into them in the same way. Rev match downshift, down to second. So we got a couple of New Yorkers, probably leaf peepers. They come to look at all the leaves. All right, up to first. So we're at this little intersection here, and let's see, I'm trying to think of which way I want to go. We've got some traffic, so I got a moment to the side. See, I want to make sure I get a little bit of no traffic in front of me. All right, oh, someone coming that way. So I'm going to go straight across here. We'll head up this way. Another car coming. It is a 4-speed, so you know, not a 5-speed, but it doesn't bother me much. All right. You see how it kind of, listen to this. So it's kind of a funny way the clutch engages. I mean, I pop it right out, but because it's such a high clutch, it kind of releases like a little bit just later than what I'm used to. So this one takes a little getting used to. You don't actually need to push the clutch all the way to the floor. Although most people who drive a stick shift will push the clutch all the way to the floor just out of habit. In this case, probably halfway down like that was fine, but you don't want to grind the gears. So we're at 3,500 RPM right now. Now, of course, this is an air-cooled Porsche. So this is the era where you have that really nice sound in the back. Yeah, it sounds so good. The odometer just rolled over to 20,000 miles. Just at this moment. Let's see, I'll pull over right here next to the sign that says go slow, so you can see it. So you know I'm for real. All right. All right, let me let you see this. All right, so right there, can you see it? 20,000 just rolled over. It's funny, the blinker on this is like a real slow blink, 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 blink. All right, so I'll pop this back up on here. Okay, there you go. All right, so let's keep driving. Okay, and we're off. I bet if I got on a dirt road, I could kick up some dirt with this. Just because it's so light, I get a little, give it a little gas, pop the clutch. Maybe we'll see if we can find a little dirt road before the end of this drive. But these are the type of roads that are really nice for this car. They're kind of, you know, just a sort of windy road. You can feel good going 30, 40, 50. It feels kind of spirited. The steering on this, in a way, is so tight that if you're used to driving a car that has looser steering, you have to adapt a little bit, not to sort of overdo it. You can oversteer the car a little bit. Okay. Blinker on. All right, I'm going to take a hard left here. Brakes are a little soft. I think maybe bleeding the brakes would tighten them up a little bit. Feels like maybe just a little bit of air pocket in there. To third. Leaves are beautiful here. On the brake, rev match. definitely feel the weight of the car jump around a little bit when you sort of hard around the corners. So between second and third on this kind of road is sort of perfect. In third right now, I don't have quite as much power as I want. So down to second, brake around the turn, gas coming out of it. Back to third. Down to second. Slow down for a second. So I had a friend pick up this car for me in California and drove about 8 hours through the night back to his house. So he flew up, he picked it up, and then drove it home, and then from his house we shipped it out. So he drove it 8 hours with no problem through the night. All right, so let's downshift here for a second. A lot of traffic right through here. A little bit of traffic back there. All right. I hear a little vibration somewhere. I don't know if it's what it is, but a little something funny. I think it's just maybe the glass or the wind catching something somewhere. One of the things that, yeah, I think it was the glass. Oh God, squirrel. He just made it. I feel so bad when I take out squirrels. So, all right, we're in third gear. We're going about 45. RPMs are about 3,000. I'm gonna go pedal to the metal here. So you can hear it kind of picking up. And then back down. You can certainly go pretty hard on the brakes and hard on the gas. It does, again, you know, just like the Volkswagen, it doesn't feel fragile. It feels like it was built to handle a little bit of abuse. And I don't want to abuse it, but it feels like it can handle it. Now, what I'll tell you about some of the newer Porsches is that some of those newer cars, and new can be anywhere from like, you know, 90, 99 and up, some of those cars can be, they can just feel so fragile. And, you know, you hit a bump the wrong way, they're out of alignment, and then it starts, you know, shaking when you get up to speed, and it just feels like, man, if it's not one thing, it's another. And that doesn't feel like it's the case with this car. All right, so we're gonna take a turn here. Ooh, we got some Holstein cows up on the hill. All right, there we go. Oh, so what is this? Holstein farm, yeah, nice. This looks pretty nice up here. Ooh, big horse. All right, so maybe we'll go this way and see where that takes us. Uh-oh, looks like I found myself a dirt road. Okay, well, so now this dirt road I can already tell is very packed. Not a lot of loose gravel on it. I'm gonna need some loose gravel to kind of have a little bit of fun. So we'll keep going down this road for a second. We'll see if it gets a little drier. Up to third. It really just, it's such a joy to drive this car. It feels so tight. The handling is fantastic. The accelerator, the engine noise, I mean, it's like win, win, win. I would feel comfortable driving this down to Manhattan. I would, you know, I mean, I would have maybe a little bit of a concern with some of the areas where people go really fast, but But generally, I'd be pretty okay with it. I think being lower to the ground also, you know, creates a little bit more sense of confidence. Some of the cars that are older, that are really high up, you feel a little bit, center of gravity is a little on the high side, but this feels good. So we're still in third. Here we go, chase some birds. Down to fourth. Back up to third. I got a stop sign ahead. All right, I think I know which road we're on. Okay. All right, in second, rev match downshift. Looks good. Third. I can't shift quite as fast as I want to, but you know what? I bet that that's just the nature of this era. What do we have there? We have a plane coming in. Run it this way real quick. I'm gonna do a little U-turn here. All right, so we're gonna do a little U-turn. All right, we'll see. We do a little 0 to 60 here. So, all right, basically going 0. I'm only going 50, and now I got to turn. So, you know, it's not going to set any records for 0 to 60. But that, again, is one of those things that, you know, if I wanted to go on a roller coaster and really get shaken around and get a 0 to 60, I'd go do that. I actually am not super into the, like, fastest 0 to 60 type of thing. I like two styles of cars. I like the cruisers, the ones that are, like, super comfy, just with awesome engine sound that you can just cruise around in. And then I like the ones that are kind of very, very engaging in the way that you have to really drive them. So with this, you have to drive it. You've got your manual transmission, you're connected to the car, to the engine, and so there's a much greater sense of being connected with this type of car. You know, a brand new McLaren or a brand new Ferrari or something like that, it just doesn't really do anything for me. I would say that if one of those newer cars, down to third, brake, rolling my foot over to the gas for downshift, so I can be on the brake and rolling just like that really easily, which I love about this car. All right. Third. rolling my foot over, and we'll pull in here real quick. And maybe we'll see if any planes land. All right. So, yeah, the position of the brake relative to the gas is perfect for that really kind of spirited drive. It's so awesome. I really love this car. It's so much fun to drive. Now, you know, the question is, how does the 356B base 60 compare to the Super 90? You know, presumably Super 90, obviously with more horsepower, is going to have a little bit more pep. So, you know, there's that, which would be fun. I don't really feel like, oh, we got a plane coming in. I don't really feel like I'm super underpowered. I don't feel like I'm like, oh man, I wish I had a lot more power. Oh, he did a little false landing. He came in, he's like, nope, back up. Interesting. Maybe he's gonna come around and give it another try. So yeah, anyways, I don't really feel super underpowered. I think I might prefer the steering being just a smidge looser. On some of these cars, there's a nut on the steering box that you can tighten or loosen just a little bit. You got to adjust it very kind of delicately, but I haven't gotten into this car to know for sure. On my old Mercedes, I was able to do that because that Mercedes was super loose, like very, very loose steering, and I wanted to tighten it up a little bit. I tightened up a little bit, but what I found was that if I went too tight, when moving the wheel would create stronger moves in the car, but it was still loose. It still had play. And so at a certain point I was like, all right, I got to back it off because this is just the way the car is. This is a very tight steering wheel, and I think perhaps loosening it down just a little bit might make it maybe a little easier to drive and maybe a little more comfortable on high speed. Because I do find that if I'm on a road and kind of hitting a bump and I'm moving the wheel just a little bit on the bump, I feel like the car's moving a little bit because I'm steering it. So I almost feel like it's almost too tight, but I feel like that, on the other hand, is what some people really like about these cars because they've got that kind of racing-inspired, you know, precision down to the millimeter steering. You could be very precise with this, but, you know, it just is a period of getting comfortable with it. And some of the other cars I have sort of particularly loose steering wheels. So yeah, from the walk around to the inside, the cold start to taking it for a drive, there's nothing I don't enjoy about this car. I mean, well, the steering, but again, that's something that I think could be a little bit better. But even as it is, I think there's people that would really like that. It's a solid car. It feels really solid. So thank you guys for tuning in to this episode of Tire Kickers. I'm going to take some pictures of the car out here. Maybe we'll get this plane. I see him circling around, so I think he's going to go in for a second attempt. And make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, hit the thumbs up, and stay tuned for the next episode of Tire Kickers. Well, we're losing light, but I almost forgot I was going to try to find some gravel. So I've just come up here to this little road where I know we've got some dirt. Now that dirt back there, it was packed. It was very packed, so nothing I could really do about that. But now this might be something that I can work with. All right, so let's see. Oh yeah, there we go. We got it out a little bit. All right, let's give it one more try. All right, let's see, down. Nice. So she's got enough torque to send the tail out a little bit, which is nice. So, you know, if you, I don't know if you could do it on, I don't think you could do it on pavement. It would take a good amount of effort. I'm not saying it's impossible, but I think that would be a challenge. On a dirt road though, this is, and even in second, no, not really in second. I'm going a little too fast and it's not enough torque. But in first, we could do it in first. So let's drop it back down here. Let's give it another try. Those first two tries, I don't know if those, I mean, it tells me that it can do it, but you know, let's see if we can take it up one more notch. Oh, well now as I say that, this is all looking a little bit more packed. All right, so. Yeah, see, that was much more packed in there. Packed gravel, it's hard to work with. Well, I'll have to find myself another gravel road one of these days and see what we can do. It's a little bit more gravel here. All right, so let's give this a try here. Yeah, you can see it kicks out a little bit, so it's fun. All right, that's enough for me. I'll see you guys for the next episode of Tire Kickers. What's up, everyone? All right, well, if you made it to the end of this video, you must also be a tire kicker just like me. So hit that subscribe button and come over to tirekickers.com to check out some articles that I've written about some of my favorite cars, including that 23 window 1961 VW bus.